see. Get up on your feet, rise up.
Welcome to another segment of the Drexwell Seymour Show. I know in the month of October there are many different occasions being celebrated or memories or whatever, but you mostly hear about Cancer Month or Breast Cancer Awareness. But there's also infancy, pregnancy, and infancy loss. This is a month that is dedicated to that as well. And today I have my guest will share her story with you about the loss of a child. And I encourage you to watch the show and share with others, and hopefully this could be an inspiration for many others. I really cannot imagine what it is to lose a child, let alone an infant who had all these plans for in preparation to come into this world. And with that said, I want to take this opportunity to thank Natishka for agreeing to be a guest on the show. I know it's not easy. It's maybe overwhelming and a lot of anxiety, bring back a lot of memories. But I'm grateful that, she's brave enough to share her story with you. So welcome to the Drexwell Seymour Show.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, Natishka, let's just go right into it. Tell us about your story.
So first of all, I'll start off with, me being here today. It wasn't an easy decision, but it's something that I felt that I should do, or I always wanted to do, just to be an encouragement to women out there who may experience the same thing or still grieving the loss of a baby. As you said, this month, you hear a lot about cancer. And in October, from October 9th to 13th is celebrated as Baby Awareness Week. And I just thought it would be a great opportunity for me to share my story, as I said, to encourage others. And also to kind of shed some light to family and friends and the community on how they can be a support system to women who have lost babies, because it happens so often. And I personally think that when it happens, it's something a mother does not expect, but it's something also friends, family, the community sometimes don't know how to approach you at that time. And everything around it is so sensitive. So while I want to share my story, I really want to shed some light into women not feeling guilty, which I think is something that really happens after, and also not being ashamed of what happened, because I think some women do have a sense of shame, not wanting anyone to know, and also to let women know that you're not alone, and yeah, especially that support system. That's very, very, very paramount during a time like this.
Yeah.
It's tragic, and I don't think anybody should experience it, but it happens.
Yeah.
So for me, 2018 I refer to as my most difficult year. When I found out I was pregnant with the baby, I can't say right away I was excited, for various reasons. One being that 6 years back, I had given birth to my daughter, who's now 12,
Yes.
and I had come close to losing her.
I remember seeing that story. Yeah.
Yes, so many would have known of that story. Um, and so for me, it was, first it was unplanned, and then I wasn't sure I was ready to go through that again, because that alone was, it was a very scary thing. And I mean, still today, that brings me, that gets me all torn up that she's here.
Yeah.
She's a normal child. And you would have never known that she was premature. And so it was something scary. And not until about maybe my 4th month was when I even let her know that I was pregnant. And actually, we did a gender reveal. It was her birthday, and we did a gender reveal, and I found out I was having a boy. So the excitement started then.
So this was in 2018.
This was in 2018. Yeah, 5 years. June would have made 5 years. So my pregnancy was normal. So was my daughter's. It was normal. The only thing is, during my pregnancy, I would develop a high blood pressure. So I was carefully monitored. With this pregnancy, I would say I was a little bit more cautious, trying to follow what the doctor said. However, I think I did everything that the doctor told me to do, with the exception of worrying. I still worried. Like, not even realizing I was worrying about things I had no control over. And the one thing I did do was I left here early, or as she instructed. I can remember going to one of my last, or close to last, doctor visit. She always told me I had to leave early. But this visit, she's like, okay, Natishka, I think it's time for you to leave. I was like, you didn't tell me, you didn't give me an exact date. She said, no, I need you out of here within the most time, 2 weeks. So I went home and, I told my significant other that I have to be out here in 2 weeks. And I told my family. And I actually kept this pregnancy very low key, just because of that scare I had
With your daughter.
with my daughter. And so I was telling them I don't want a baby shower. I said, people can just come by, bring gifts, and let's give them cake. And they didn't listen to me at all. Not at all. I had the biggest baby shower. I still don't think there has been a shower that has been bigger than that.
Really?
And everybody was excited for me. And my cousin and my mom, my sister, I guess some friends, they pulled the shower together. My cousin, they did the shower, I guess, in a week time. And I had everything for that baby. People really showed up, and they showed me love, and they showered me with gifts. I had a room filled with gifts. I had clothing up to about 3 years old.
Really?
For this baby. There was nothing, I don't think there was anything that I didn't have at that shower. So this was another excitement. And within a few days, I was off to the US to give birth to my baby boy. I started my doctor visits, and I didn't get to do a lot. And the doctor told me everything was perfect. He said, I think within my second visit, he said, I'm going to give you 2 more weeks, and I'm going to take this baby because he's full term. All his head circumference is correct, is right, and he's already weighing 5 pounds, and he's already turning down, and everything seemed perfect. Everything seemed normal. Also, with him monitoring my blood pressure seemed to be a bit normal too. And so in my mind, everything was good. Everything was good.
Nothing else make you thinking it differently.
Except reading everything and except what happened to me I didn't read about. My last doctor visit, I can remember him, the ultrasound was very detailed. Actually, my daughter was with me at the time, 7 years old. And he showed her the ultrasound, and he showed her how the baby was moving. And I could remember him telling her, you know, this sound is the baby's heartbeat. And if you don't hear this, you know, something is wrong. I'll tell you how that came into play later on. And so this visit, about 3 days later, at this time, the baby Jordan, we had already named him as well. His name was Jordan Lathan.
Beautiful name.
He laid really low, but I was used to him laying low and I was used to him moving a lot. But he laid really low till the day before. I can remember telling my mom, you know, I said, oh gosh, this baby's so low and it's so uncomfortable. And I said, until it's almost painful, you know. And she did tell me, you know, maybe you need to go to the doctor. I was like, I just went to the doctor 2 days ago. You know, he said everything's fine. I said, I think this is just
Part of the process.
yes, part of the process. And, you know, it's almost to that time. So I went to bed really late, my daughter and I. About 2 o'clock, we were still up and the baby's still moving. And I took a nap, and then about 3 o'clock in the morning, I can remember reaching out to my cousin who lives in the U.S. She was in a different city though, and she's a nurse. And I told her, I said, I don't understand. I said, I'm in pain, you know. I said, but the pain keeps going and coming, like it's, you know. So she's like, what? So she's like, how long has this been going on? I said, well, I just woke up. And so she said, let's monitor it. So we monitored it and we timed it, and she said, I think you're having contractions. I was like, oh, really? I said, well, you know, contractions got to be hotter than this, you know. So she told me to drink some water. I can't remember if it was cold or hot, but she told me to drink cold water. And she said, see if it kind of calm you down a bit. And I did that. It did calm me down a bit. And she said, as soon as the morning hit, go to see a doctor. Call your doctor. She said, call your doctor, and he will take you in right away. So that was just my plan. About 5 o'clock that morning, I got up to use the restroom. At this time, there was no pain, there was no discomfort. But I went to the restroom, and to my surprise, as I walked by, or as I got up, I realized I was bleeding. And as I walked out, I realized the trail. And you know, I just was at a disbelief. I was like, what happened? What did I do? I called 911 right away. And within a minute or two, I could hear the sirens coming. I wasn't far from the hospital at all. While on the phone with 911, though, they told me to lay down and relax. But instantly my mommy mood kicked in because I had my daughter with me and we were alone. My mom and my dad was coming up when the baby was going to be taken. So mommy mode kicked in. I was no longer in pain, but I was bleeding, but I was no longer in pain. So I packed her bag, and I could hear the ambulance. Well, I could hear when the ambulance was actually downstairs. So I knew they were coming up. She was asleep. And when they knocked on the door, that's when I woke up. I said, we gotta go. And it's so funny how things happen, because I can remember maybe 2 or 3 days ago that week, I told her, I said, Nyla, you know, we're not home, we're not in Provo, so in case of emergency, I said, these are the numbers you have to call, you know? because Grammy's not here, Auntie's not here, and they're back home. So you need numbers that you can call immediately. And, and here's actually, we keep our phones locked. I took that lock code off my phone. I said, you know, if anything happens, these are the numbers you need to call. And she's like, okay, she got this. So we got to the hospital. Well, we never backtrack. When I woke her up, got her shoes ready, I told her, I said, we gotta go. I said, but here's what I want you to do. Whatever happens, don't lose my hand. We're in the US now. Nobody's gonna take my baby. I said, whatever happens, you don't lose mommy hand. She got her backpack, she had my handbag, and we were on our way to the hospital. I could remember I told them to put her in first. And it's like, no, we have to put you in first and then we'll put her in. And she was at my foot. And I could see her face being so scared with the bag, but she was pretty. She didn't cry at all, or, she was strong. We got to the hospital and everything happened so quickly. Everything happened so quickly as they rolled me in. And I went to hold her hand, I could just see the trail of blood. At this time, I can't say I thought about the baby. I was just saying, Lord, let me live. And we got inside and, they got me saddled and they did the ultrasound. I think they did excuse her for a bit. And then they brought her back in and they had to let me know the news and they told me, sorry, we lost the baby. And I was just like, what happened? And they told me my placenta separated from the baby. I was like, how is that even possible?
Wow.
And I still was in shock. I was in shock. I was in shock for a bit. And one thing I can say is that the doctors and nurses, they were very, 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 very good. They took their time with me and they were there, especially with Nyla being there. And so it's like, what next? I can remember them coming in and telling me, we have to operate on you. And I said, okay. And it's like, but we would have to put Nyla into care if you don't have anyone here. And I was like, no. I said, how long do I have? I said, because I need to make calls, get someone to, I said, I don't want her to leave. I said, she's not going to leave. Well, I told myself, she's not going to leave. I wiped up those like she's not going anywhere. How long do I have? And we'll figure it out from now. And she did have an auntie. I had someone in Orlando. And it took some time for us, because this was like 5 o'clock in the morning. So it took some time for us to get a hold of her. But when I did get the phone to call her, I realized that Nyla had sent a message to my mom. She said, Grammy, we at the hospital. And you remember they said, I remember they said at my mommy doctor visit that when you didn't hear that sound, something was wrong with the baby. She said, and I didn't hear that sound. I didn't hear that sound, so I think something's wrong with the baby. At that time, my mom had already known that we lost it. I didn't let her know at that time. And this is 7 years old. We followed our aunt came and they rushed me in and everything happened so fast. I can't say it happened so fast. And so now I had to deal with the aftermath of that loss. And this is at 7.5 months. I was nearly 8 months.
Wow.
It was nearly 8 months. I lost Nyla at delivered Nyla at 7 months. She was 2 months early. So, in the back of my head, I would feel, okay, yeah, I'm in the US.
You reach
If
safe.
anything, anything happens, they can save this baby. To be honest, like from being in the apartment to getting to the hospital, if anything that I had thought about for the baby, that's all. Everything's gonna be okay because I'm in the US. They high tech, they're gonna figure it out. Nyla survived in Turks. And when I woke up, uh, a cousin-in-law of mine was there. He lived in Orlando, and I had just spoken to him a few days back, and he was there, and he's like, Nish, what happened? And I just smiled and knew myself, because that's what everybody knew me as, this bubbly person, and just smiling all the time, and full of life. It's like you smiling and you just lost your baby. And still, mommy mood was still in. By that time, my mom and my boyfriend at the time, they were about to be, I was in Orlando, so they had to drive up. And I was numb for a bit. I can't say I cried. I was numb. I was in disbelief. By the time they came, they had asked me if I wanted to see the baby. I told them yes. And they brought him back in. I don't know what they did, but I'm pretty sure I kind of read up afterwards, like, what do they do? He smelled like a baby. He looked like he was sleeping. He had the perfect hands, he had the perfect feet. Everything about him was perfect. He was bigger than Nyla was. He was well developed. So then I started questioning, like, Lord, this little baby is perfect, And why would you make me come so far and go this entire time? Just take it. So the questions started to just flood my mind. And that time in the hospital, the nurses made me feel so relaxed and catered to me so much. Like it kind of but kind of lessened the pain of it. And so as the calls came in and the texts came in and, everybody sharing their sympathy and showing the love, I still didn't cry as much. I still didn't grieve.
You think he was in denial or?
I don't know if I was in denial. I think I was more in shock.
Okay.
I was more in shock. I got to take pictures of the baby. My mom got to take more pictures than that. And they dressed him in clothes, they allowed me to keep him in my room until I was ready for him to go out. That's something that I don't think would have happened here. And it was fine. I think it was a good and a bad thing in some ways, because I didn't stay there and grieve over him, but him just being in the room was a part of not letting go. And then maybe I should have just say, okay, take him away, because I developed a stronger bond because he was there. But I just couldn't come to terms to say, okay, you can take him away thinking he's going to freeze up. And then thinking of, okay, what should I do? Should I have a funeral? should I cremate? Like, what do I do? Should I take his body home? And so I started going back into that worry mode, which I kind of felt got me in the position that I was in. I also started searching up what causes a placenta to separate. I asked the doctors the same thing. And of course, they told me, it happens. It happens to 1 in every 9 or 10 women. And while they can't tell me exactly what caused mine, or they can hardly tell what causes exactly with a lot of women. It can happen when you have high blood pressure, but they can't say that's what caused mine.
Right.
But at the back of my head, I just still remember me worrying. And even though my pressure was normal, I still worried. I worried about things that I had no control, things that I shouldn't even have worried about.
Many of us do that. We worry about a lot of things.
And
it's not going to solve anything, but
it's not going to solve
it's
anything.
like a natural thing to do, but yeah.
And yes. So I spent a week or a little over a week in the hospital. I very much could have lost my life. I had to get a blood transfusion because I lost so much blood. And being in that room and them just catering to me, they allowed my daughter to sleep if she wanted to. They allowed another person to sleep with me. So his dad was there the entire time, and if my mom wanted to stay, so there was only 2 persons could stay at a time. But they were very
accommodating.
Very accommodating. And I didn't have to leave my room. So I felt comfortable for a bit. I felt comfortable. And then I had to say, okay, it's time to have the baby go. They did it in steps. They actually took him to another room. And they said, we're going to put him here. And if you want to see him, you're welcome to go to that room. But we're going to take him out of here. And I must say, but one thing with them being accommodating, they didn't want me to leave, nor neither leave, especially not without doing counseling. So they did sessions in the room. They got on the floor. Counselor came in, got on the floor, spoke to her, read a book to her, questioned her, spent time with her. And that was also very comforting to me as well, because I was being strong for her as well, because she was there through the entire process. So yes, I had to get up and now go to this room to see the baby, and I didn't let him stay in the room for a long time, maybe a day. I told him I was ready, and they said, well, now you have to make your wraps in order to walk before you get it, because I had a C-section.
Oh.
Yeah, so you have to be, we have to know that you're mobile, so move around and practice walking. And so now I had to come out of that room. And so feelings started to began to be overwhelmed with feelings. And I realized on my door, this hospital was a baby hospital. Very, very good hospital, Willie Palmer Hospital in Orlando. I realized on my door they had like a tag. And I asked them, I said, why don't I see that tag on everybody else? And they said, we put that there because of your loss. And so that's how the nurses knew. When they came in there, they were really, really accommodating, really sensitive, and they just catered to me. So as I walked through that hospital, you can't help but see pregnant women and moving around, and women who probably just had a baby, and so you started to see other women. So that wasn't a very good feeling. I'm still not going through those emotions. And then my time came where I had to leave. And they again, very accommodating. They asked me, are you driving? Is someone driving? Do you want us to call a taxi for you? Do you need us to arrange you having a nurse on duty? Very accommodating. And I didn't need all that, but just to know. And they gave me information like how to deal with steps, attending classes, support classes. Also, the guy that came and took all the pictures, and the lady that came to do the counseling, they gave me her number, and the lady that dressed the baby, like I had all these contacts and all these people that reached out to me, just touch base with me to make sure that I was okay. And I was okay until they rolled me downstairs and I saw Heron sleeping with the baby. And that was just the most horrible feeling. And still, I'm still this strong, Nish. I'm just trying not to cry because I don't want Nala to see me crying. I don't want my mom to worry. I don't want Daddy to worry. Like, I don't want anyone to feel so sympathetic to me. So, leaving the hospital was one thing. And then you get to the next, and it's just days to come because we had planned a summer vacation during that time. So the rest of the family would come up and we would spend summer together after the baby's born. And all of his cousins look forward. His cousins, I don't even think I named them. I think they named him. So everybody was looking forward to this. And I'm going now without this baby. So I get home, and the next few weeks was tough. Some days tough. I can't say my family wasn't there for me. They supported me as much as they can, and I also put up a front of, being okay. Showers I was my comfort spot. Because I could go in there and I could cry. I didn't even need water. And I would go in the shower and I would take long showers and just to get away from, no one seeing me cry. And there was this one day, and this is like almost 2 weeks after losing the baby. And I remember this day so vividly. I took the longest shower, and my moms came up and you okay? And I said, yeah, I'm okay. Because I wipe up my tears in the bathroom, and I'm okay. And I got out of the shower, and I went into the bed. That bed sank quickly. I felt like I was trapped. And my cousin called, and he, I could hear him downstairs talking to them, and I was like, I don't want him to come upstairs and ask, let them, just have that conversation downstairs, But I know it would come where they would say, hey, where's Nish? And that's just what happened. They came upstairs and I couldn't wipe up those tears. I couldn't smile. I couldn't be that person to say, I'm okay. And I couldn't even speak. Like, I couldn't find the words to even say I'm okay because the feelings were so overwhelming. Just thinking and trying to process my thoughts was hard. And I remember my cousin asking me, if there's one thing, he asked me, he said, Nish, you gotta pray. You gotta pray and ask God to help you. And I said, I can't pray. I can't pray. It's hard to pray.
Under those circumstances.
It's hard. And not that I don't believe in prayer. It's just was hard. And so he asked me, he said, so if you could ask God for one thing, what would it be? And I said, strength. And he prayed with me. I asked for strength. He prayed with me. I believed that prayer. And that prayer worked. From that day on,
I mean, how long did it, after you prayed, how long?
after that prayer, after that day, believe it or not,
It's awesome.
believe it or not, I was never in that, because the way I felt that day, that feeling didn't come again.
Wow, praise the Lord.
That feeling didn't come again. Because I needed that strength and I needed that prayer. And a verse that stuck with me is His grace is sufficient.
Yes.
And some days I couldn't even remember the entire verse, but I would just remember His grace is sufficient. And I had to be conscious of not asking why. And that was hard. That was hard. But I can say that prayer for strength, I think up to today I have that strength.
Happy to hear that.
And that's why I'm here today and I can talk about it. My grandfather actually passed away shortly after that. He was very well known, he was very loved. And he was in and out of the hospital. He was old, but I didn't think he would die. You know, I thought I would be right there when I get back home. This is just one of his normal things. And also a friend of mine had died a few weeks before I lost the baby. And I questioned God there too. Like, how could you take this mother away from her kids? She was a good mother. And now here I am. He took my baby away from me. So I had questions.
Yeah.
And then after I lost my grandfather, I was like, I mean, I couldn't make it when my mom actually left, and I stayed over in Orlando during the entire time. I just didn't want to come home. And she left, so she got to see him before he died. Then I had to decide, okay, I'm coming home for the funeral. Coming home for the funeral. And the funeral was the next time I really cried. And even when coming home for the funeral, you know, I tried to avoid crowds. I didn't want to really see people.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be known for that girl that lost that baby at 7.5 months. I just wanted to be Natishka. And so, as much as I could, I avoided crowds. I avoided going out. And I remember helping prepare for my grandfather's funeral. I had that strength moving around until the day of the funeral, pinning brooches on. And I remember as I walked in the door and I saw his body there, and kind of backtrack, I did have a service in Orlando for the baby. I had family and friends that came up.
Okay, I was going to ask you about that.
Yes, so they told me, you know, whatever time you have, and there's a little backtrack because they gave me they said, whatever time you have, you know, take your time to decide on a funeral home and what you would do. And this was my first time. I actually was thinking of cremating, and then I realized that someone shared light to me, like that isn't up the Bible to really cremate. And I quickly took my mind off of that. But I also fight with, why not just bury it there? You're there, why bring him home? And I was like, I can't leave my baby there, but that's just the body. And so it was decision, tossing. But after my grandfather passed away, I was like, I'm taking this baby home. also a friend of mine who's from here who does funeral. Um, we're still close to this day. I think he reached out to me, and I told him, you know, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And he's like, whatever you decide. He said, I'm in Florida. I'll drive out to you. Not knowing his wife had just had a baby. Him, his wife, and her other child, and a newborn baby drove up to Orlando. And to this day, I have a special love with him.
A great friend.
Him and his family. They drove up to, actually, I didn't even know his family was in the car until after we met. They sat in the car. But he came to Orlando and he's like, you know, take your time in deciding if you want to have something here. You know, I can. He said, but I have a connect in Florida and Miami. And it will be easier if he's there, because whatever you decide, you know. So I said, yeah. So I said, but then he has to get down. He's like, I'm licensed over here. I can go and pick up your baby now. I said, you can pick him up now? So he's like, yeah. Contact the hospital, give him the details, and I'll leave from here and I'll pick up your baby. But that was like mind blowing, and I was like, oh, really? So I had to tell him, I say, okay, let's do that. And just how we're here talking, they're talking, and he said, okay. And I contacted the hospital, and he went, and I told him, I said, before you leave, send me a picture, because I have to make sure that's my baby. And he did just that. He sent me a picture, and I said, yeah, that's my baby. And he took him down to Miami. And so I had a service in Miami, and like I said, my grandfather passed, and so they kept the body there for me. And I told him, you know, I'm gonna definitely take this baby. I'm not gonna have a service in Bobo. And the reason, because I just didn't want to be. I didn't want to have everybody just crowded, and I didn't want to have to deal with a crowd.
Yeah.
So some family members came, and you know, it wasn't a long service, and through that, imagine I walked through there and smiles and hugging and everybody crying, and I was just so strong. I had one of my cousins say to me, like, girl, are you crazy or what? Are you gonna break down? When are you gonna break down? I told myself, God, I don't even know. Like, and so we brought him home, and at the time of my grandfather's burial, he was buried. So back to when I walked into the church and I saw my grandfather's body, I don't even know what I saw. I can remember walking into the church, and that's it I can remember for the service. The next step was, the next thing I could remember is at the graveside when they had to pronounce him to my grandfather and the baby, and they did it together. Now, my baby body wasn't in the church. They only brought him out at the time of the burial. And I kind of was happy that I was so exhausted, because even at the burial site, like, people was like, what's going on? She had a baby? She lost a baby? Whose baby? And, you know, like, my difficulty out of people. You know? And I was so exhausted at that time, with really crying out because I didn't cry. And that was another relief. I can honestly say that my grieving came in different process, like different steps.
Okay.
It was not all at once. It was not all at once. So after I came back here, I had to deal with crowds, and I had to deal with people asking, how is the baby?
Because they didn't know you lost the
Because they
baby.
didn't know I lost the baby. Or people asking, when are you gonna have the baby? And so for me, just staying away was the right thing to do. Just staying in my own zone was the right thing to do. And there were certain things that triggered it for me. Seeing a mother that I know was pregnant at the same time that I was triggered it for me. And seeing her with her baby, I could remember I went through a process of, back to asking God why. How could you let that young girl have that baby? She has 5 kids already, and you took my baby. But in all, I know that God was in the midst of it. I can definitely say that that experience brought me closer to Him.
That's good.
That experience brought me closer, along with different things that happened within that year. And He had to do this so that I would learn to depend on Him. We have this thing of saying, I put it, place it in God's hand, and we honestly didn't.
Until we get tested, right?
Until we get tested. And so I can honestly say that was me. I placed it in God's hand and was trying to help Him at all times. And He tested me. Some hard tests. I can say that was a hard test. But I'm glad that it brought me closer to Him.
That's good.
And
That's a good thing.
yes. And the strength that He has given me throughout that and up to now, 5 years later, I can't say I don't think of the baby. I can't say I don't think of Jordan. Actually, my daughter doesn't say the baby. She says my brother, Jordan. And she said that confidently for a long time. People would say, how many kids do you have? And I would say, I only have just one daughter. She said, nope. She has 2 until she got a little older. And she would say, but my brother's in heaven. And then that would open up another can of worms. So I had to kind of train her too. And yes, it totally gave me, I think I developed a whole different outlook on life.
Yeah.
And with all that story, kind of lengthy, today I didn't want to really focus on me, but more pay attention or speak to, bring awareness to, with it being the awareness week, how we as a community can be more supportive to those that have lost.
Yeah.
And the do's and the don'ts.
Yeah. Very sensitive to.
Very sensitive to it. I mean, losing anyone can be tough. Losing anyone can be tough, but losing a baby that you expected to live. We have this thing, and I don't like to hear like, oh, you was only 3 weeks. Oh, you were only in your second trimester. But I believe once a woman has conceived and known that she's pregnant, I think there's a connection.
Yeah.
And so whether it's 3 weeks or it's 7.5 months, we have something in common.
Yeah.
And that is losing a life that we expected.
Yes.
So while my pain, I may think my pain is, far more than the one that was 3 weeks, it can very much be the same thing.
Yeah.
It can very much be the same thing. So that's one of the don'ts. If you're speaking to someone who have lost a baby, that's not the best thing to say.
Yeah. No matter what stage of their pregnancy.
No matter what stage of the pregnancy. As long as that woman was pregnant, she expected that baby, she connected with that baby. There's some sense of void. Another thing is that we say is, oh, we could just have another one. While some women go on and have another one, I don't think it fills that void of the one that you lost. Yes, it might bring some comfort, yes. Especially if you don't have any kids,
But it
But
doesn't replace.
it does not replace that baby. Another thing is we kind of say, don't worry about it. I went through the same thing, woman to woman. Yes, we have something in common. We've lost a baby, but you don't know what I went through. Come on.
Situation could be different.
Situations are different. I can vividly, that was one of what I vividly remember someone telling me that. And the anger that was in me, and I actually was with my mother like, did you just say that?
So it's probably best not to say anything, Danny.
Yes. No, it's not best. If you know that person, I wouldn't say it's best not to say
Oh,
anything.
okay.
I wouldn't say that. But when I was so like, I went through the same thing, I had to bounce back and say, I'm not sure what you went through, but I didn't go through that same thing. We both lost a baby, but I'm pretty sure our situations were different. Because you also have mothers who babies would have lived, and that's still a loss. That baby might have lived for some time, maybe a week, maybe a day, maybe a month or a couple months, and then you lost that baby. That's still a baby loss.
Yeah.
In my case, my baby didn't live. He was a stillborn. But everybody, the experience is a tad bit different.
Yeah.
I would say if you do know that person, not to pass them straight.
Okay.
As if you
It
don't
didn't exist. Okay.
Yes, it doesn't exist. Simply saying, sorry for your loss, and not going on and let them kind of lead the conversation.
Got it.
I would say let them lead the conversation, and if you can give them some sort of encouragement, then do so. But really be sensitive to what you say.
Yeah. Absolutely. Very good advice.
Yes, what you say is very important. Because at that time, the mind is, thinking so many things, and we can internalize something that was said, and that just put us right back into
That mood that you were-
yes, that mood. So, yeah, I wouldn't say, if you see that person to go right into, oh, I'm so sorry for you losing that baby, let that person lead that conversation. If you can give them a helping hand, ask them, how can I help you?
Yeah, that's good.
Say a prayer. I can also say during my time, I kind of introspect, because a lot of people said, oh, I'm praying for you, and I said, person ain't praying for me. Like, and then I got to the point where I was like, did you really pray for me? And then I started introspecting and say, when you tell someone that's grieving, you're praying for them, Nish, do you really pray for them?
Sometimes we don't.
And sometimes we don't. It's just a thing that we say.
Yeah, I'm saying cliche.
Yeah. And so from then till now, if I say I'm praying for you,
Great.
I would pray for you on the spot. Well, it took me some time to be able to pray on the spot, but I would say a prayer.
That's very good.
So some good things came out of my
Yes,
situation.
yes.
Some good behaviors and development came out of my situation because that's what I wanted for myself.
Yes, that's good. Good,
Yeah.
good lessons.
That's what I wanted for myself.
So, how are you feeling now?
I'm
This is
good.
2023.
I would say I'm in a good place now.
Good.
Yes, I'm in a good place now. And like I said, I think of it now and then, but I don't dwell on it. And I would also say to women out there who may experience it, whether it's right now you're currently going through it, it's okay to grieve. It's okay to take time to grieve. However, do not let that grieving process consume you. Talk about it. Find someone that you can speak to about your feelings. The support, if you can find support, your loved ones from your loved ones. I would encourage loved ones to support. But surround yourself with people who are supportive. That's very important. And then I would definitely say we focus a lot on women during the loss, but fathers
Yeah.
go through it as well.
Yeah, I believe that.
Fathers go through it as well. So also during that process, don't forget them.
Yeah. Very good advice.
Yeah.
Very good, Natishka. Natishka, that is an incredible story. Brave, brave, brave. Thank you so much for sharing your story. A lot of learning lessons, a lot of great advice. And for those of you watching the show, I hope you pay attention and take note of the advice that Natishka has given us. I want to say thanks again for being on the show.
Thank you, Ben.
Well, you're watching the Draxwell Seaman Show, and remember, this is the month of pregnancy and infancy loss, awareness, and it's great to have Natishka on the show sharing a story.